So today we begin a very sacred time in tradition of the church. Tomorrow is All Saints' Day, and this is important. So tonight is All Saints' Eve, or All Hallows Eve. And so Halloween with the apostrophe, holy evening, hallow evening means hallowed evening or holy evening. And so All Saints' Day is obligatory. So whenever we have a feast of that magnitude, so is the vigil. So if we celebrate an extremely important day in the church on November 1st, which is a solemnity, the highest, you have to celebrate the vigil. That's how it's always been. Since the 700s, the church has formally done that, but then it ended in 1955. So this is kind of interesting. This period begins the 3 days of All Hallowtide, a time that we have in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead. And so, to clarify, this is not a pagan religious event. It is a Christian celebration 1,300 years old. Now, it doesn't mean that people can't do stupid pagan things on a night like tonight. They do, and they will, but that's not why it exists. It's kind of like a computer. You can use a computer for dumb and stupid things, but that's not what the computer was created for. So this is a perfect example. Yes, some Halloween traditions originated from Celtic harvest festivals with pagan roots, but the feast and its vigil are not pagan. Yes, the traditions have Celtic elements like lighting bonfires or carving turnips. In Celtic mythology, apples were associated with the other world and immortality. Does that mean we don't eat apples today? Does that mean you're not allowed to eat an apple? No. It's the same as the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree comes from pre-Christian German pagan traditions without being a pagan ritual. So we have to understand this. Now, looking at today's tradition, there is a thing that they used to celebrate called Samhain, but it's actually spelled Samhain. You wouldn't think that, but it's pronounced Samhain. And it was celebrated at the summer's end, the end of the harvest season, the beginning of winter. And it was seen as the most fitting time to do so because it's a time of dying in nature. Look at your leaves, they're dying, they're falling off of the trees. And so the fall has traditionally been a time of dying. And so nature redoes itself, but it goes through dying and then it regenerates. Now, Halloween began independently, or All Hallows Eve now, not the pagan stuff, but the celebration of All Hallows Eve began independent as solely a Christian holiday, a Christian feast. There's no evidence that Gregory III or the IV, when this really started to catch popularity in the church, were even aware of the Celtic harvest festival of Samhain. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. Just because something existed in parallel doesn't mean it's connected. So Gregory III and Gregory IV, who started celebrating within the church the vigil of this important day of All Saints' Day, didn't even know about the Celtic harvest festival of Samhain. That doesn't mean that there's causality here. And so there are also occult aspects of Halloween, like ghosts and demons. But what's interesting, those are rooted in Catholic belief too. A lot of people don't realize that. Christians believed at certain times of the year, just like Christmas, the veil separating earth from purgatory, heaven and hell became thin, and holy souls and demons could be seen. So the spirits of the afterworld could be seen. This was Catholic belief. Now, trick-or-treating came from what's called souling, S-O-U-L-I-N-G, the custom of sharing what they would call soul cakes to help the faithful departed. Children would go door to door on All Hallows Tide collecting soul cakes. This is how it got started. This is how trick-or-treating got started. This was in exchange for praying for the dead. So they would get these cakes and they would promise in return to pray for your loved ones. You know, especially those who gave them the soul cakes, their friends and their relatives. Jack-o'-lanterns. Actually, jack-o'-lanterns originally represented the souls of the dead. Now there are times where you can see sometimes demons carved like gargoyles on churches in Europe, and people say, oh, look at the pagan church, Catholic church. Actually, the gargoyles are lined around the churches in Europe because they were to scare away the demons. Because a demon, when it sees this reflection, is scared. It gets scared away. So that's one of the purposes of the jack-o'-lantern, was to scare away the demon, using the demon to scare a demon away. So on Halloween in medieval Europe, fires were lit to deflect these demons from haunting Christians. So the tradition of the bonfire. In France, they believe that once a year on tonight, All Hallows Eve or Halloween, the dead of the churchyards would rise for a carnival. So people dressed up as corpses, right? Which was the origin of costume parties. You see? And so there was obviously the pagan practice of dressing in disguise so that evil spirits would not recognize you or torment you. That's another theory of how the costume party got developed, is that the people would dress in disguise so the evil spirits who were coming to get you didn't know it was you. So yeah, that could be called a pagan practice, but it doesn't make illegitimate our Catholic celebration of the vigil of this important All Saints' Day. Last night at the movie theater, I actually couldn't even go myself to see the movie, but we Marians were part of the Triumph Over Evil. There was an exorcism movie on the movie theaters last night. And I was doing a mission down in New York, but Father Gabriel Amorth, he's an exorcist, the Vatican exorcist, he said no harm comes from your children trick-or-treating or participating in Halloween, as long as things are kept in perspective. So many today, especially fundamentalists, will say Halloween is pagan and evil. Again, it doesn't mean that people don't do stupid, evil things. They do. But it has become that. Fundamentalists have criticized Halloween because it's really anti-Catholic. That's interesting. In post-Reformation England, and by the way, I have, right after this Mass, a conference call with our apostolate in London, in England. And so we Marians are expanding into England, and the story there is amazing. But anyway, in post-Reformation England, All Saints' Day and its vigil, Halloween, All Hallows Eve, were banned. They claimed that the Catholic doctrine of purgatory was a modified form of Babylonian worship of the dead. That's where the connection with it being pagan came from. It's anti-Catholic. So All Hallows Eve, the vigil of All Saints' Day, was redefined without the doctrine of purgatory. So ghosts were thought to be evil spirits. Yeah, no, ghosts can be evil spirits, but they can also be holy souls asking for prayers. If you hear knocking at night, you can hear the presence of maybe something. It could be a holy soul asking for prayers. But what happened was they banned all of this. It was banned, and even the Celtic peasant customs associated with Halloween were outlawed, connecting Catholicism with paganism. Puritans outlawed the celebration here in the New World of both Christmas and Halloween. Those were because it was times for the dead. But Catholic colonists in Maryland recognized All Hallows Eve in their church calendars. Maryland was a refuge place for Catholics. And Christmas here in America in the colonial times was revived by German Catholics and Irish Catholic immigrants. They also revived Halloween. And so Satanists and Wiccans created this mythology saying Halloween was their festival. That's hogwash. And so non-Catholics will jump on this and say, look, you Catholics are pagan and you're embracing this pagan celebration. Again, it was way Catholic, way long before some Satanists or Wiccans claimed it was theirs. And yes, simultaneously there were pagan practices or there were pagan traditions, but those were running parallel, not causality. And so if Halloween is pagan, then so is Christmas. That's the bottom line. Well, Father, it's gruesome. We can't celebrate it. Well, what happened to the martyrs? Do we not celebrate the martyrs? What happened to them? Wasn't that pretty gruesome? Yeah, it was. Well, Father, we can't have skeleton costumes with bones. Well, wait a minute. We Catholics have bones with our relics. We have skeleton bones. So I'm not trying to promote that you go out tonight and celebrate evil. I'm not trying to say that's okay. We don't want to dress up as demons or witches, obviously. But the meaning of the vigil of this important solemnity can be celebrated with dressing up as a saint, dressing up as something that's not a demon or a witch. So the anti-Catholic view of this is what took off. Remember back in the 80s, that Jack Chick? He was an anti-Catholic fundamentalist, and he led this charge stating that this Halloween was embraced by the Catholics because it was pagan and witchcraft. He made false claims that Halloween was Satan's birthday. It's not. And razor blades. He reported everywhere that razor blades were found in candy. Actually, that was a very false report. Virtually all of the very tiny amount of candy, poisoning, or razor blades was involved in their own family. Came from the own family of those kids. That's pretty sad. So by the 1990s, many Catholics, unaware of the Catholic origins of All Hallows Eve, banned Halloween themselves. Now, if you worry, like I said, about this, that's okay. A popular Catholic alternative, as I just said, is an All Saints party. But don't condemn our own tradition of our church because of anti-Catholicism. So at best, though this is an attempt, I think this is the best way to say it. This could be considered an attempt to Christianize an already Christian holiday. This is really what it is. We have to keep things in perspective, all right? The belief that the demonic have equal power to God and the good is wrong. It's not true. So don't glorify witches and demons tonight. You know, even the Hollywood's doing this. I mean, they've now, another sequel to Wicked or whatever it is. This is crazy stuff. We're not glorifying evil tonight. Tonight's the eve, the vigil of glorifying the saints. Not glorifying in the sense of worshiping them or deifying them, honoring them. Maybe that's a better word. And so you don't want to emphasize the power of a witch or a demon, but it's rather a time to remember the dead and to glorify, not maybe the saints, that's a bad choice, but glorify God who is shown through his saints. That's the way we look at it. You know, the Catholic Church celebration is not the same as what has become the American celebration. The American celebration has become evil. This is a night to do witchcraft, to do the occult. I'm not denying that. I'm sure I'm going to get many letters saying, Father Chris, you're saying it's okay for my children to go do witchcraft tonight. I never said that. The American version of what's become Halloween is different. It's not the same as the Catholic Church's celebration of the Vigil of All Saints' Day. It has become something totally different. So if you're talking about sacrificing animals, doing occult stuff, having seances, honoring demons, and doing witchcraft, absolutely, positively, in no shape, way, or form can we say that is okay. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Catholic 1,300-year-old honoring of the dead, and in this case, the vigil of the saints. This Catholic celebration is not the same as what we see in the evil today. So I think that's the point we have to remember when you ask, can Catholics celebrate Halloween? Have a safe night tonight. Keep your kids safe, and let us pray that this evil will be, through the power of God, diminished, even on a night like tonight where they try to elevate it.